Three, two, one. Welcome to the Oh Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
It's October, Dan. You know what that means.
I'm so psyched. It is October 3rd, 2020, and I'm psyched to kick off like the Oh Brother month of horror, we're going to call it.
Month of horror, Halloween Fest.
Halloween Fest, yeah. It's, the weather's started to turn here a little bit. Enough
sneak peek of the future.
Little sign of things to come.
Yeah, right.
I was going to mention that too, because we, so real quick, let's say that we'll get into it in a minute, but we're going to talk about The Invisible Man.
Right. That's today's movie.
That's today's movie, the 2020, not the 1933 version, but we'll get into all that.
Right.
But you, by the time you hear this, we'll also have another blog out on our website, obpodcast.com, all about this beautiful 4K Halloween 78 release that just came out. I just got mine yesterday. Steelbook. Now, we talk, well, you know what? I don't want to spoil it. We read the blog and then you'll find out more about this sweet set. And, I think I tweeted this out, but there's very few movies that I'll be okay with taking the physical media. This is one of those franchises where I'll do that. Godfather, that's another one. Very few, but Halloween is one of those.
Yeah.
And
so we're going to do a whole episode on Halloween coming up.
I can't wait.
We're going to basically cover the whole kit and caboodle in 50 minutes.
That's including Season of the Witch, folks. Halloween 3. If you're gonna complete,
you
go all out. You got to do that.
I got it.
So it's funny because I was thinking we should really record our conversations through the week, because that's really the show before the show. I sometimes think that would be more entertaining, some of the shit that goes on. Like, we got into it this week. Like the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's this game time decision again, back and forth.
And really, I had to twist your arm to get to this movie.
Really, you did have to twist my arm on this one.
Yeah.
I kept throwing out other thoughts and ideas, and the doubt was in my head. And then you were like, no, Invisible Man. I'm like, you just want to do that because you saw the original. God knows you probably read the novel. You're going to talk about that and bore us to tears. But
I'll tell you what, because I never actually explained why.
Okay.
And the reason I picked this or wanted to pick this.
I want to know why.
Did you do this? I didn't want any part of this. The reason was this was the #1 movie in March. And when the shutdown came, this movie went from, and it represents to me pre and post COVID as far as the movie business goes.
Yeah. So
that was my broader idea. And then I thought it was a good way to kick off Halloween.
Yeah. And listen, the reason I'm excited that you convinced me to get on board is because, I don't scare easily when it comes to movies. Like, Halloween is one of those franchises, even the lesser acclaimed of that franchise, it gets me every time. There's so many jump scares and whatever. I fall for it all the time and I just love it. So I was looking for something new, and I know, God, we follow, and so many accounts follow us that love horror. Mm-hmm. And so I was really excited to jump back into horror. I haven't watched a horror movie in quite a long time.
Right. We're not big horror people. We're not big horror fans. Neither one of us.
Yeah.
And sorry, I hit my mic there, but Halloween's the one exception. I have horror in my collection almost, to kind of fulfill the collection, like Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger and Child's Play. But those aren't the typical movies that I like to sit down and watch.
I was thinking too, we were both, this was also, wasn't sure this episode was going to happen today because, man, we were both kind of going through it the last day and a half or so with different things. I thought a title for this episode should be Shits and Stones.
Yeah, I have suffered from kidney stones, and I had a nice one last night.
Yeah, and let's just say that Porcelain and I are going steady. So it was not fun. So let's get into The Invisible Man. Where do you want to start with this one? I'm sure you're like chomping at the bit for some things.
No, I just the broad view. This is a little bit different.
You want to set up like the history?
Yeah, a little bit.
Give us the history.
Talk about it. It's basically an H.G. Wells novel, but this one isn't really based on the novel, mostly because of the way they get there. But in the broad spectrum, recently we've had Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon. It's funny because when I punched up Invisible Man, I'm like, where's Kevin Bacon? Where's Chevy Chase? And then I realized the titles were different. It's Memoirs of an Invisible Man was Chevy Chase, then Hollow Man, and then there was a Hollow Man 2. I think it was straight to DVD with Christian Slater taking over. But this, did I say that wrong?
No, I haven't. He hasn't been on the forefront of my mind for a while, but I love Christian Slater.
He's got a big show that just ended.
I should have talked about this before we get into the movie, but my cat Shadow is a black cat. It's another perfect, for Halloween.
Yeah.
October. I was in the bathroom last night, one of my many trips I was telling you, and I turned around to walk back into the bedroom, and who's sitting on my bed now?
Oh, that's new.
Yeah.
Because she's what, less than 6 months with you, right?
Oh yeah, she's just a couple months with me. Yeah.
Beautiful black kitten that you rescued, and if you look at any of our media stuff, you'll see her.
She's featured, and I've got to tell you, those are some of the movies. Those are some of the most popular posts.
Yeah, she likes movies.
It's like less Mike and Dan, more Shadow.
I thought it was so funny because she watched both Mulans. She just stops and looks at the screen. It's so funny.
And I didn't share the Full Metal Jacket one with you until after.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it on social media.
I couldn't believe she literally got up on the table there or whatever.
Yeah.
And that climax scene was coming, and she was ready.
Yeah, the first half climax, she got
exactly.
It's so funny.
So she actually, she scurried away when I got close to the bed, so she didn't stay. But then I was on the bed, just kind of laying down, and she did come back up. But if there's a sudden movement or by kicking my feet or whatever, she takes off. So she didn't stay long. But now it makes me think, speaking of the Invisible Man, is it the Invisible Cat? Is she in there at night? I don't even know it. She's probably up there sleeping with me all night. I don't realize it.
Yeah, that there's going to be nights you're going to wake up and she'll be on your chest.
Yeah, we're heading in that direction.
What in the world?
Yeah, I was really shocked when I saw her up there because we both looked at each other like, in surprise. Yeah, that's right. So anyways, I digress. You were talking about the history.
Yeah, and I mentioned Hollow Man 2, and Christian Slater played. That had an interesting sequence at the end of it where he fought himself or somebody. There was 2 invisible men, and I thought that was a clever twist.
No, I have to say I never saw those. So is that at all connected to?
No, no. Because I just brought it up because a lot of people.
It's in that vein too.
Yeah, and it's the most recent.
And he looks like the character from the original Invisible Man. Like the Hollow Man looks like Claude Rains did when he was all
yeah.
You know what I mean, with the hat
and they use they always seem to use the rap.
The rap, right?
That's kind of the famous H.G. Wells where you wrap them up in gauze, not gauze, but whatever that.
Yeah.
Whatever they call it, bandaging. But anyways, this one one of the reasons it caught my eye when I was looking at it was it's done by, and I'll get his name wrong. Do you know how to say the director's name?
Leigh Whannell.
Leigh Whannell.
Yeah.
And you know him, right?
I don't. I had to look him up because I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't familiar with him.
He's kind of to me, he's like a prodigy.
Yeah. Because
him and James Wan, who's really well known, he did one of the Fast and Furious. He did, his most recent was Aquaman, which I have not seen thanks to your recommendation.
You're welcome.
But, in Aquaman is Patrick Wilson, and Patrick Wilson is somehow tied into, and Vera Farmiga is also in some of James Wan's movies. But Leigh Whannell wrote Saw, which has become, and I have those films. I don't know why. There's that's a hack and slasher film, right?
Yeah, hugely popular. But I honestly jumped out kind of after the first one. I never really got into those. I don't hate on it. I just don't really know it that well.
I've watched them all, and I think each one has a clever gimmick.
Yeah.
And they jumped out after the third one. So, it's no surprise. They did the first one, and Lee was in it. The sequence where it's Carrie Ewell's, another kid across from it.
Yeah.
That's Leigh Whannell.
Oh, okay.
And so at a young age, he grew up in Australia, has an Australian accent, and you see him in Saw, you're like, everybody seems like they're American, and then you see him do the interview, and it's, hey, bloody this, and, it's just funny. But, him and James Wan have had so much success. I thought, well, if anyone would have a good twist, he's a great storyteller.
Well, what about talk about the producer of the film, too, that everybody will know? Jason Blum.
Oh, yeah. So this is Blumhouse.
Blumhouse.
And which is doing the new Halloweens that have blown us both away. In fact, we should be on our way to see
I know
the latest installment, but because of COVID,
right,
it's not out.
Right.
But so, yeah, it's done by Blumhouse. And so all those things caught my attention. I had never seen it. So when I was twisting your arm, I had no idea if it was going to be awful,
right,
if you're going to hate it,
right. Although you saw,
hate it.
Well, you saw that it was, it's getting good reviews. And,
right. The numbers were pretty good.
Making some money. Yeah.
And it made some money. And it was top at the box office until, the disease spread and the theaters closed. And we've talked about the state of theaters and everything.
Yeah. It got yanked. I think it was 4 weeks. It was out for 4 weeks, and then it got yanked right there at mid-March, early March. Yeah.
And something I wanted to bring up, and I'll bring it up now. One of our listeners, Howard, where's Howard from?
Staten Island.
Staten Island, that's right, the king of Staten Island. So I'll give a shout out to Howard because he emailed me over the week and brought up Blu-ray.com. And this is a site I visit daily. And it was funny. He brought it up to me. He goes, hey, I'll recommend this site. And I said, oh, geez,
You've been there since its inception.
I have. And I literally check it every day. That's where I get like the breaking news. And that's where I'll find prices on. They always have the lowest prices. And it's not necessarily one place. You can check Amazon, Best Buy, all the different outlets. And it'll show you when it hits its lowest price. So The Invisible Man, this movie we're going to talk about in a minute, in 4K is only $12.66.
Wow.
So if you hear this and you think, hey, sounds like something I might like, you can pick it up for cheap money. So with that kind of broad inception, what did you think?
I liked it. I mean, it was, it was a really good movie. Again, I tend to be pretty skeptical when it comes to the horror genre, just because there's very little that kind of grabs my attention. but I liked it. I mean, overall, I thought it was good. There was some really good. Again, we talked about the directing, his background, and then you got Bloom with Blumhouse involved. So same as you, as soon as I saw those elements, I thought, okay, this is worth watching. And I have to say, like, I was struck right from the beginning, the title sequence. I'm like, okay, like some things that I hadn't really seen before with the crashing waves revealing the
titles. Yeah,
that was pretty nice. And some of the mise en scène, with this, it opens up. You're on this sort of in this
beautiful house,
beautiful estate, like on the right on the like a cliff over the ocean. But the framing of some of those opening scenes was really, really nice. The cinematography was nice, and the tension that was building from the beginning was good.
Yes,
and that sustained, I think, mostly throughout.
Yeah,
but the problem I had with it is it didn't pay off enough, and it didn't pay off early enough for me. So
I agree.
The one thing that, if you think about that first 10 minutes of the film, which is, again, we won't give away too much, but basically it's this the main character, Cecilia, is is in a relationship with this Adrian Griffin, who is like a tech entrepreneur, and he's into optic technology and things like this. And so, but you very quickly realize this, although
something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong. And it was interesting that Whannell talked about how he intentionally started it out that way with no backstory. He just wanted you to be set right into what was going on, and then let you kind of.
And I liked that.
I liked it too.
There's a certain amount of confusion, like, why is she doing that?
Yeah.
Who is this? What's going on? So the first 5 minutes is pretty much us trying to get grounded into the story. Like, what does this have to do with anything?
Right.
Kind of thing, and I agree with you. I think the movie was a half hour too long. And I think it could have been suppressed into a nice, tight 90-minute thriller.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I would agree with that. And where I was with it, I was on board, and then that first payoff where she's trying to get out of this house, so you know that there's something not right in this relationship because she's trying to make a break for it, and he eventually gets wise to it. And there's a scene where, it's supposed to be a jump scare, right?
In the first 5 minutes.
It's like in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She's getting picked up by who we learn is her sister, Emily. She's getting picked up like on this dark road outside the property somewhere.
Yes.
And, it's that kind of typical, getting your keys in the door, it's that whole build up.
Right.
And then he does appear and tries to stop her. That should have been way more climatic. Like, it was I was really bummed out that they didn't pay that off in that scene. Don't you?
Yeah. What do you think? He dragged it out a little too long?
It was the fact that when he runs out onto the road and he's trying to stop her, there was like too much. It should have been one of those. Where
should have been just a bang.
Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen that where it just comes crashing through the the windshield or something? And if you see the trailer, it pays off the way it should in the film.
Right.
So I was a little bummed at that. Having said that, I still thought that he continued to build tension pretty well throughout. So
he did, and
a lot of tricks, some great camera work.
That's the key, I think, to the movie. The tension was built in a different way. This is what I liked most about it, is usually the tension comes from the characters or something. He used the camera quite a bit to build tension, and the way he would do it is, I'm looking at you right now, but all of a sudden the camera pans over to the side.
Right.
So you're kind of watching to the side, something's going to go on. but you don't really know if it's going to come here or it's here. So it leaves you guessing a little bit where, okay, I know you're going to try to, it's like Hitchcock. The reason I love Hitchcock so much, and especially I love his TV shows. I know every single one of his half-hour TV shows. I've seen every single one a dozen times. And what I love about it is I know he's going to try to scare me. So the whole time I'm like, I'm going to figure it out. He's going to try to scare me. It's coming from here. And then Hitchcock always pulls the rug out from under me and takes it from another direction.
See, with Whannell, and he's quoted as saying this, he intentionally didn't pay off a lot of those moments.
Yes.
And
so it left you hanging a bit.
Right. And there's also some wide shots he used, like the one in the kitchen where she walks out of frame and he just sits on that wide shot in the kitchen. So as you described, it's like you're trying to, as the viewer, okay, I know he's in here, like where is he? What's going on? Where is it?
And we know it's a modern film because there's cameras in the house. So there's times where he'll show a room from the
security camera.
Yeah, it's the POV of the camera.
Right.
So I thought that was clever.
And the use of the robotic camera in the making. I don't know if you saw some of the behind the scenes stuff, but that was, again, speaking of, a couple of months ago, it was a little over 2 months ago, there's an account called Cinema Magic, I think, on Instagram. You can look it up. I saw a post, and I meant to tell you this at the top of the episode. I saw a posting, and it was a split screen. This was on Instagram. It was a split screen of that kitchen scene. And they were showing the scene from the film on top of the scene, the making of it, with the guy in the green suit and the stunt person and the cables and all that went into that. And so it's really kind of coincidental that you would end up picking this movie and we would talk about it, because it was captivating enough that I stopped and watched the whole thing. It ran 30, 45 seconds. And
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty wild. So that camera was pretty sophisticated technology to be using.
Yeah. One of the things that's always interesting about an Invisible Man type movie, whether it's H.G. Wells, it's the movement. I'm always like, it always looks not natural the way they move, like when they're getting thrown. Like if a person picks you up and throws you and they're invisible, the way you move always looks odd to me.
Yeah.
Until you see them making it and you say, that's how exactly it would look. Because they're really doing it. They just, like you said, they green screen a guy out of the picture.
How they can do it. And he said that was not an easy scene to film. And I saw quite a bit of the making of that. And it's very impressive. There was some other very cool scenes, I'm sure you would agree. Like, this one not as sort of new, but the breath, you just
right.
Kind of the breath. I mean, that was cool.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where, she eventually ends up going to this treatment center. And of course they start to think she's going out of her mind because she's saying she's seeing her.
Right. He's here. He's right here. Over there,
Right.
Like that's kind of a typical plot point.
There was some of those scenes, and Elisabeth Moss in particular, it was making me think of, is it Taylor Scout? Am I say, God, strike me down if I didn't say that right as a Halloween fan, but from, Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Right.
Her look, I mean, poor Elisabeth Moss. I mean, this must have been draining on her to be in state of mind throughout this whole film. But the scene where she's at the treatment center, and there's this whole hallway scene, right, where she's going after him, and then she's being chased by police and security guards, and that whole scene that goes down in that hallway is really cool.
Yeah, it's a good scene. It's a good sequence.
The way where the one guy falls, he gets shot and falls, and the way the camera, again, that robotic camera, has a way of shooting things in certain angles that like you could never get with a steady cam or something else.
Right.
I thought that was really, really cool.
And I think James Whannell, if one thing he's really good at is
Leigh
telling
Whannell,
a
you mean.
story. Leigh Whannell, I'm sorry. One thing I'm thinking of James Wan, you know, I've married the two of them. He's a really good storyteller. And basically, if you look at his filmography, you know, majority of the stuff is writing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious which he likes best. I would guess maybe directing, although directing is such a flood of things to do. He probably has fun taking a break and doing a scene like he did in Aquaman, or, you know, some of the other films that he's just been a bit player in, instead of, you know, having to worry about every little thing. But he does lay out the story. And by the end of this, we know the whole story. We know what's going on. We know why, you know, the beginning where we're so confused at the end makes sense.
Yeah. Did you pick up on some of the nods to the original 1933 film?
Probably not. I was just kind of in the moment with this, but
There were two that I saw, and then there was one that I ended up reading about after the fact. But one was in the bedroom. There's a scene in a bedroom early on where there's there's a character who is the daughter of a friend she's staying with.
yes.
That guy was a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
He was pretty good. Huge. Good Lord. Like to be as fit as that guy.
Yeah, big guy. He was played a cop, I think.
Really big, yeah.
Yeah.
And but his daughter wants to go to fashion school.
Yes.
So in her room, there's like a mannequin because she's playing around with fashion and styles and stuff.
Yes.
Go back and look. It sort of looks like Claude Rains.
It does.
Right?
It does. Yeah. In fact, I was wondering if that was a character when I was watching
I
it.
did too. I did too. And then they're in the treatment center. She's sitting in the hallway, I think, on a bench waiting for something. And I think she's sitting with, is it Aldous Hodge? I think is that actor's name. Again, the African-American guy that played. A patient is being pushed out on a cart, on a stretcher.
Yes. And
with
wrapped
the wrap.
up in the, yes.
So
yes.
I figure that's another nod.
Yes.
There.
Good nods.
There's also a security code that she plugs in at the house.
Yes.
At the mansion. It's 1933.
Right.
So another reference to the original film. Yeah. You know,
yet she, in her head, she figures it out as a different thing, you know, like our first date was.
Well, that was later.
Yeah. Okay.
You're right. That's later in the film. But yeah, she says how romantic because it was when they first met or something.
Yeah.
You know, the quick side note, Jason Blum, was reading about him on Wikipedia, and I thought you would have found this interesting. I don't know if you knew this, but it says he obtained financing for his first film as producer, Kicking and Screaming, from 1995, after receiving a letter from a family acquaintance, entertainer Steve Martin, who endorsed the script. And it says Blum attached the letter from Martin to copies of the script he sent around to Hollywood executives.
Wow. I had no idea. Yeah.
Crazy?
Well, that's like when Leigh Whannell and James Wan put together Saw, they figured they were going to have to self-finance it. And they were going to have to find a way to come up with the money. And they made a scene from it, scene where he wears one of the gimmicks where you got to get out of this helmet in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And they showed that around, and everybody basically got into a bidding war over Saw.
I don't know about Whannell, but Blum started out at Miramax, I was reading like he worked with the Weinsteins, not a great reputation there. But to further that point, there was also I guess some criticism about the fact that there hasn't been a female director in any of these horror films. And so there was a film just last year that was Black Christmas, which was a remake, a horror remake that had a female director at the helm. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know that movie.
Well, I know of it.
Yeah.
The original, but I've never seen that.
I was trying to, off the top of my head, think of female directors, but yeah, I can't put one together. Of course, you look at Halloween, and Deborah Hill is pretty much just as responsible as John Carpenter
Yeah.
for the Halloween series. If really she kind of kept up with the series when he totally backed away.
Yeah.
She continued to help write.
I had mentioned this was a better way to put it. I was talking earlier about Whannell and how he intentionally doesn't pay things off. And I like the way this was written. It says that he enjoys weaponizing an audience's knowledge of movies against them. And the opening sequence is filled with examples where viewers expect things that don't happen. So,
yeah,
he did a good job of that.
Yeah, he really did.
I was frustrated a few times because I wanted it to pay off. Now, I will say there was definitely multiple twists in this movie. A couple I saw coming, and then a couple I didn't see coming. And again, we won't give anything away, but
right.
I did have one of these kind of moments.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that at all, but
I did. And I also had one of these, kind of moments where I was like, did it have to be that obvious?
I agree.
So, and again, without giving away too much, but I think overall, this is a movie worth seeing, especially this time of the year. It got a March release, which is kind of odd. I kept thinking about that as I thought about how this happened just before the movie business changed, how it really should have been released around this time, but I think the way
they're trying to capitalize, get an early take and then know that it's going to build even more as it approaches the fall. I don't know.
Yeah. And as usually horror movies, it's like Halloween, the last Halloween, the newest version of Halloween, which we both liked, came out very late, in October, right? It came out around the middle of October. Felt like it should have been maybe a couple weeks prior, but they know better than we do.
Right. True. One criticism too is a minor scene, but kind of made me laugh was, it was funny when she's getting away and they have a dog named Zeus.
Yeah.
And the dog, she's like, I can't take you with me. And he's kind of whining a little bit. And he's got this like electric fence collar on, this shock collar. So she says, I'm not going to leave this thing on you. And she, will act of mercy before she takes off from the estate, takes it off. His bum hits the car and sets off the alarm, which is what triggers him. But did you have a problem with later on when she returns to this estate and Zeus is still hanging out, looks fit as a fiddle? It's like, first of all, he had taken off.
Right. He bolted.
Who's feeding Zeus? And,
right.
Oh my God, he looked.
Yeah, that's a good point because, when she came back, she was like Zeus, and they had like a little. It was
so bizarre.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Has he got the same personal trainer as?
That's pretty that's pretty nitpicky, but it's funny.
It is nitpicky.
Yeah,
and I will say that there was a little bit of Scooby Doo for me. Zoink, Scoob.
Yeah.
Maggie. Did you feel that towards the end, like there was a Scooby moment?
You'll have to tell me, afterwards, because I don't want to really get into the details.
I don't either. But I would agree. Listen, I'm really glad we watched this movie. It's a good way to kick off the season, and
that's what it felt like to me. It felt like a good Halloween movie.
Watch it at night, though. I watched this in the middle of the day. You got to watch it at night.
Oh, I watched it last night, as a matter of fact, which I agree. I always like to watch any movie at night or, at 4:00 in the morning, which is technically morning, but still feels like night.
Yeah, still dark.
Because it's a good mood movie as far as, it'll get you in the mood for Halloween and get you in the mood for, other things to come. So
there were some neat little things too that I found out about, again, and doing a little bit of research, like just some cool, subtle things, like her name, Cecilia. I don't know if you even, did any. So her name the origin of her name is from a Latin word that basically means blindness.
Hmm.
And also, if you remember, she was referred to as C. You said it earlier.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
C, blind,
Correct.
invisible man.
Yes.
And even his name, Adrian, right,
Mhm.
Griffin? Adrian, apparently, if you look at the root of that word, it's like black and darkness. And, you know, I like that stuff. That's so,
Yeah.
you know, peripheral,
Obscure.
but yet
And
there's thought that goes into it. I like that.
Of course. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I like listening to audio commentaries. And, you
Right.
know, I didn't have the physical copy of this, so I wasn't able to look at or listen to the commentary, but they point out so much that goes through a scene. Every little placement of every little item has something to do with the scene that you would never ever know
Mhm.
unless you listen to the director or somebody talk about it.
You know, and before we wrap this up, we didn't really even talk about the fact that, you know, there are some overarching themes here about abusive relationships and the difficulty
Yes.
of getting away from those. And I also like the idea of, you know, even if you're fortunate enough to get out of a situation like that, if you've experienced trauma in your life, it often stays with you for
Yes.
a long time after the fact. So, you know, there's some pretty deep themes there too that I want to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is he put this in a real world context
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, women especially seem to be able to relate to, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's definitely, I'm glad you watched it.
It was
Glad
good. It's
we
good.
picked it for our kickoff to the Halloween season. We're going to get deeper into
It's a good way to start it.
more classics.
I told you the weather's turning a little bit, and
Yeah.
you know, watching this, it's October, my favorite time of year. Like, just the mood was, everything was perfect. So.
Yeah, and it used to be where you live down in Florida, man, from October until March,
Mm-hmm.
April, it's just like heaven.
Yeah,
Of course, you get some hot days here and there, but it's just a stretch of nice weather. I used to always love that time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's my favorite for sure. So looking forward to diving into some more movies over the next several weeks. And we've got some, you know, we won't get into details, but we've got some like exciting things planned. And
Yeah, and you know, this is a great time for us because we have a lot, you know, like the holidays. With each holiday, we have kind of some movies that mean something for us, that you know, that inject the holiday. So
yeah,
it's
sorry,
going to
folks.
be
You're going to have to hear about Godfather 3 again.
yeah, you know, I sent that to
Thanksgiving.
you that came from Blu-ray.com. It's not called Godfather 3 anymore. It's called The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone.
Right.
So that should be, I'm really excited. December 8th.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, you and I are just like right up there with that. And that's another blog that we put out there that you got to check out. Go to our website, obpodcast.com. Everything Oh Brother you'll find on the website. We've got all of our podcast episodes, links to all the major podcast platforms, but you can listen to them right there from our website. All the YouTube videos are there. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel too. We post all these shows on the YouTube channel. So, you know, like our videos there, subscribe, make sure that you hit the notification bell because you don't want to miss out on all good things, Oh Brother.
Yeah, especially to give a nod to Dan, because you do all the work. You know, I kind of show up and do this, and Dan does all the editing and really has made the website. And you know, for Dan, give Dan a thumbs up because he's done a lot of good work on this.
That's a nice ploy, man.
Yeah, and works. Well, it's true, and people don't realize they listen to this podcast for 45 minutes or you know, less, and your commute,
45
whatever.
seconds.
Yeah, a minute. But what goes into making the final product is several hours. Anybody who does a YouTube video knows that editing is the real bear.
Yeah.
And if you like YouTube, any YouTube channel, doesn't have to be us. In fact, dislike us. Give us a thumbs down.
Hey, wait a second.
Give them a thumbs up. Wait a second. No.
Hey, hold on a second. Don't
Give
be
us
that
all thumbs
altruistic.
up. Yeah.
But we do this because we love it, and it really is to coin a phrase, a labor of love. I mean, we want it to be good. We hope that people are enjoying it. And you can also, if you go out to our website, I mean, you can just drop us a line, send us an email, and give us some feedback, because we're doing something that you don't like so much, or we're not doing something that you'd like to see more of. That's the kind of stuff that we want to hear. So
yeah, and we're willing to pivot on a dime if somebody we've proven that. And if somebody comes up with an idea, like say a Halloween movie, something that you think should be out there, let us know. We're going to do this for the whole month of October. We'll sneak it in there and give you credit for it.
Yeah, we know that we've got one space reserved as it needs to be, right? And homage to all things Halloween movie franchise. Yes. But I mean, I would love that in particular, because like I said, it's really difficult for me to find something in the horror genre that really gets me and grabs me. So, and this was a good start. I mean, I'd be curious to see where this ranks on our listeners' lists, but look, Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, those are some pretty high numbers. 91% critics and 88% on the audience.
Really, 91 critics.
91.
I didn't look at those.
Almost 400 ratings or reviews, I think, and
that's fantastic.
The audience is right up there with it, so that's pretty impressive.
And it was, I think, a modern day. Now, it's definitely got its problems at the end. There's a few things that don't quite pay off the way
maybe they can pay them off in the sequel, which apparently is gonna happen.
And chances are it will happen, because it's done so well, even given the fact that the Tap it did 64 million domestically, right? And I would say it probably would have doubled that.
Oh yeah,
if it had stayed in the movie. So.
And she's already said she's 100% on board if they do a sequel. So, all right, well, that'll wrap it up for another week. I've been your host, Dan Smith, alongside me. Well, that does it for another episode of Oh Brother. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Boo, everybody.
Say boo, everyone.
Okay.
I always
bust
your balls with
this. Boo, everyone. Or is it everybody? Did I say it wrong? Okay, I was right. All right.